Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again, and welcome to The Roads with Belle. Today is September 11th, 2025, and we're headed down the roads to Trump's third term, SCOTUS, and the 22nd Amendment. So, Justice Sonia Sotomayor and Justice Amy Coney Barrett were both questioned about a potential third term for Trump in different interviews. The responses have led to questions, criticisms, and concerns. I think we need to really look at the context to understand the reactions. Here's a question that kind of encapsulates the concerns. Belle, I've really come to count on this channel to break down complicated constitutional questions. Both a conservative and a liberal Supreme Court justice were very soft on their answers about Trump running for a third term. It worries me because he plans on running. He's already selling 2028 merchandise. Is this settled or not? Before we get to their comments, let's look at what they're being asked about. The 22nd Amendment to the Constitution is what created that limit. The relevant part says, quote, "No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once." That's it. Very simple. Very direct. The 22nd Amendment goes on, but it's all literally irrelevant now. It's stuff about what happens if the amendment isn't ratified within 7 years, and how it doesn't apply to those in office at the time it's ratified, and so on. That quote is the total of what matters. It doesn't say 2 consecutive terms like conservatives try to tell people. And it makes it pretty clear that the goal was to limit the total time in office to a max of 10 years, even if a person became president through the vice presidency. If Vance became president tomorrow, he only gets 1 more term. Very clear. No ambiguity. Okay, so the comments from the justices. Let's start with Sotomayor, because it's easiest to explain. She was asked if it was settled law. Her answer was, quote, "The Constitution is settled law. No one has tried to challenge that. Until somebody tries, you don't know." That's where the clip on social media and quote ends in most cases. But that's not the end of her statement. She went on, quote, "So it's not settled because we don't have a court case about that issue. But it is in the Constitution. And one should understand that there's nothing that's the greater law in the United States than the Constitution of the United States." The term settled law is legal jargon. It generally means it has binding precedent. There is no binding precedent on this because it's never been challenged. It just has the Constitution's wording, which is very clear. If Trump challenges it, it will become settled law when the court rejects his argument. This is a case of the interviewer asking a legal term and getting a legal answer. The justice's full quote makes it clear. That's what's happening. But that's not the clip that went viral. I mean, how can you sensationalize a complete answer? Now, Justice Amy Coney Barrett's clip is even easier to understand in context. The clip has her being asked about the 22nd Amendment, saying you can only run for office twice. She says true, indicating very clearly you can only get elected twice. Then she's asked if it's cut and dried. She says, quote, "That's what the amendment says, right?" That sounds noncommittal. It's not. What led to that question was her talking about how some parts of the Constitution are specific and some are general. She had pointed out that the president must be at least 35 years old as an example of something specific, and free speech as something general. When she was asked if the limitation on a third term existed, she said, true. because it's specific. That's what the amendment says, right? It wasn't her asking for confirmation of the content of the amendment or being vague. She's saying it's black and white. In context, it's actually one of the most basic and accurate statements she's ever given on the Constitution. But again, how can you get clicks out of that? Right-wing commentators want to be able to say, "Yay, Trump's going to run again." It's important to remember that justices generally don't discuss specifics of law in interviews, especially if it's something that they may have to rule on in the future. That's why both were vague. To me, the fact that both withheld specifics is actually the more worrying part. They seem to believe they may actually have to preside over a case with this as the fundamental question in the future. Now, why is Trump selling 2028 hats? Because he's Trump. Did you believe he was suddenly a devout Christian when he slapped his name on a Bible? He's selling it because his base will buy it. Once this is all charted, Trump is already going to be the oldest president in U.S. history at the end of his term. I'm also not incredibly worried about his re-election chances, because I don't think his base will stick with him through the economic downturn they're likely to have to endure. So, there you go. A little more information, a little more context, and having the right information will make all the difference. Y'all have a good day.